Do you want to be in the poor people category or the wealthy people category? What actions are you taking that are moving you closer or further away from the person you really want to be? Now, before we dive into that, let me warn you, some of these might be a bit extreme, and there's a good reason for that, because to tell you the truth, when I meet those richer than me, I always see the same pattern. And it's not just one magical thing that they're doing, it's actually the things they're staying away from. Almost like if it were a life or death scenario. I'd like to think about it like a plane. What do you think is better, pushing the gas pedal or making sure the plane doesn't go down? That's why I'm going to share with you the exact things that I have learned from other way wealthier people than me that they're avoiding, so you can start applying that in your own life today. The richest dude I've ever met in person had just come off a $500 million company exit. He had been in the game for over 2 decades, owned real estate in over 13 different countries, and he wasn't wearing a Rolex, he wasn't wearing a Richard Mille, he was wearing a damn G-Shock waterproof surf watch because he liked the green color and the way the plastic felt on his wrist. And seeing this really made me think of something my old mentor used to say. Using labor to buy luxuries is what we call a dumb man's move. Instead, use labor to buy assets and then have those assets pay for your luxuries. Which leads me to my point here, wealthy people stay away from making dumb money moves. Because in a world of Instagram show-offs and fake influencers, everyone wants to look rich instead of being rich. I mean, most people literally flex their way right back into poverty once they're making the first money. I've literally seen this over and over again. And I've literally been there myself. Once I started cracking my first 100K profit in a single month, I thought I was the shit. Oh my God, after taxes, after expenses, 100K in a single month for me. Nobody in my family has ever made that much money, not even in 2 years. Oh my God, it can't get any better than that. Well, it can get better than that. It always can get better, but you gotta be responsible, all right? Wealthy people, they're aware of this pitfall, and they're rather spending their first 2 to 5 million on boring assets that later on buy them the luxury items if they then still so desire. So you gotta understand, it's probably 2, 3, 4, 5 more years of just grinding and holding back on the flexing that you're investing into boring stuff that later on makes you more money. The only question is, what's your priorities? Do you want to hustle for 2 to 5 more years to then be really wealthy, or do you want to look cool now? And again, I've certainly been there myself. And in the case of this unnamed richest guy I've ever met, he literally just invested all his money in acquiring real estate, stocks, and other companies. Every single one of these things ended up making him more money. And it's funny because at that level, if you're trying to flex with a Lambo or an entry-level Rolex, like real wealthy people will literally see it as a sign of poverty. And here I was meeting this guy wearing my $12,000 date just thinking I was the shit, you know? Yeah, all right, Max, buy assets and save money, right? Right? Not quite. Because rich people actually do spend money, a lot of it, but on what? And that reminds me of that one time I was at dinner with my buddy Gregor Gallagher from Kino Body, Elliot Holtz was also there, and Nick Coe from RSD. We were all in Miami at this great, like, Brazilian barbecue place. We're all eating like crazy. It was a huge bill, I guess. And everyone was stumbling over each other trying to pay the bill, until literally one of them went to the bathroom to secretly pay the bill before everyone else could. And that really kind of blew my mind. And there's a great Bible quote that I read just years later. The generous soul will be made rich, and he who waters will also be watered himself. Proverbs 11:25. And that would, look at me, I'm quoting the Bible here, cool, right? This was absolutely fascinating for me to see, because I just came off the back of a 12-month unpaid internship. I just started making like 10, 15K a month, and I was still very much in what we call scarcity mode, right? For me, money was something precious to hold on to at all costs. You don't know where the next paycheck will come from. I needed to save, hold on to it, try to get free meals wherever I could. But then I saw these guys happily paying the bill, even though everyone had their crew with them. We were like 15, 20 people. And then later on, I learned that most of my wealthy mentors did donate hundreds of thousands of dollars a year, not just to get tax breaks, of course, but also because they know the power of abundance. You want more of something? Give more of it away. Focus on producing wealth, not holding on to it. All the wealthy people that I see and interact with, they take actions that avoid having that scarcity mindset that I used to have. Instead, they're coming from an abundance mindset, one of the most powerful character traits I've seen wealthy people. And what does having an abundance mindset allow you to do? Investing in yourself. Our CMO, Robin, he literally buys 20K masterminds like candy at the gas station checkout. And when I asked him, how do you know if XYZ mastermind is going to be worth it? He just says, you don't. But I'd rather risk paying something that might be good than not investing in myself. Warren Buffett, same. He invests in multiple companies at the same time, hoping that maybe two of the more profitable ones pay for the other's losses. And that means that most wealthy people are much less risk averse when it comes to investments. They know that not all investments pay off, and that is fine. This gives them permission to fail on one hand, but also helps them succeed on the other. They're aware that the road to wealth is just paved with failures, but all they have to do is just succeed a bit more than they fail, and it works out, right? Compare that with the average dude that dreams about building a business for years, but never takes the first step because of the risk. Mate, your need for comfort and safety is literally your downfall. You're trapped forever in an illusion of safety, like the gorilla that doesn't escape the cage after years of captivity, even the door has been already opened. Wealthy people don't delude themselves into thinking they know everything. They invest in themselves and their knowledge, and they're always looking for that extra edge, even if it's risky. Now, that covers the investment and money mindset. Let's get down to the fun part. What do wealthy people do for fun? They walk on treadmills all day long. No, just kidding. Well, one of the things that I try to do that makes life more fun for me anyways, and saves me a lot of time, is I try to do always at least two things at the same time. So a lot of times when I'm in calls with my clients, I'm doing steps on my treadmill desk. That allows me to stay fit and not waste time having to do the walking outside extra. So that's a little bit of a mini extra tip I want to give you here at this point. Wealthy people stay away from cheap dopamine sources. And if you think what the average person consumes nowadays, both with their brain as well as with their body, mainstream media, fear-mongering news, drama everywhere, cheap entertainment, shitty food, just keep scrolling through the news feed, keep doom scrolling. Look, the ancient Romans had the concept of panem et circenses, aka bread and circuses, to keep the public poor and distracted, while the wealthy socialites, they could build up more influence and power. This is a fact. You can read up on the history of that. That concept is more alive today than ever before. You're surrounded by cheap dopamine distraction. So if you ever want to get wealthy, you gotta start with the dopamine and get your dopamine from finishing a workout, eating clean, closing a deal, learning something new, hitting the sauna, hanging out with your successful buddies, talking about productive things. The problem isn't dopamine itself, it's where you're getting it from. Now, after all this, some of you might be wondering, that's great and all, Max, but in order to build wealth, I need to be able to make money first, right? That is true. So if you aren't able to actually utilize your skills and make more money to avoid the things we've talked about today, then it doesn't mean anything, right? Which is why, if you want to know how to turn your knowledge into a business and be able to make 3K a month, 5K a month, 10K a month from it as a start, so you can start operating as a wealthy person slowly but steadily, you can check it out right here.